Joe asked me as part of our year of studying the Enneagram to talk about the somatic Enneagram this morning. And in its sort of simplest terms, the somatic Enneagram is really about turning your attention inward so that you can care for yourself in a very compassionate, tender, loving way. And I loved this painting because you can see at the very bottom, there's this little path that's going into the woods. And to me, well, these kinds of images always speak to me because I see life as just one long journey of going into places that maybe we're not familiar with or necessarily comfortable with and seeing what we find. And the other thing that Joe called to my attention after he sent me this is if you look right above the path up into that limb that's coming out to the right, there's a tiny little bluebird there. And to me, that bluebird is just beckoning us on. So I really love this picture, and thank you, Joe, for sharing it with me so that we could share it with the group. So, as I said, the somatic Enneagram is really about turning inward to care for ourselves. And I have been practicing with the somatic Enneagram for a very long time, as well as other teachers' teachings that are very, very similar. And I always notice this little bit of resistance to doing so. And I'm not sure that that little bit of resistance will ever go away, even though every time I practice these kinds of teachings with myself or facilitate other people or have other people facilitate me, there always just is this little bit of resistance, even though I know it's going to be very beneficial for me and that I'm always going to get something rich from it. And I think, in part that's just our survival instincts, not wanting to touch our suffering. And so, the resistance is normal. And I kind of want to point it out at the very beginning here because I think it might be something that you experience as well. Because what we're going to do today is we are going to actually practice two ways of turning our attention inward, what that feels like, and how we take care of ourselves. What does that even mean to go inward and treat ourselves compassionately and tenderly and kindly? So that's what today is going to be about, is doing that, practicing it together. So we're going to have not just one period of silence today, we're going to have 3 periods of silence so that we can take some time to practice this together. And I think, from a cultural point of view, it may be a little bit easier for women to give themselves permission to do this because in our culture, women have more permission to show their emotions and their feelings. And men have many times been taught that, oh, that's a weak thing and you shouldn't do that. But I think it's actually somewhat difficult for all of us to do that. Um, when Joe asked me to do this and I started working on this talk, I realized that really all of the teachers that I am studying these days and that I have been studying for the past several years really have their own way of teaching what the somatic Enneagram teaches. Um, all of them are talking about the importance of practicing turning inward, to give attention to what's happening on the inside. And the reason that this, well, in somatic Enneagram terms, what I would say is that, if you think about some aspect of your life, either from the past or the present, either something personal or something in the collective, world that we're living in today, we can all find uh, experiences from the past or present that are upsetting to us. And there's a lot of, if you can take time to notice it, there's a lot of energy that gets stuck inside of us when these things happen. And how do we discharge that energy? What do we do with it? And so, what the somatic Enneagram teaches, and in fact, all of these other disciplines, the Buddhists teach it, Eugene Gendlin, in his method called focusing, teaches it, internal family systems teaches it. They're all giving us different but similar ways to go in, acknowledge that energy that we experience when we're upset about something, and giving us a way to actually be with it, to dialogue with it, to care for it, so that some of that energy can be discharged. So, anyway, that's kind of the basics of what we're going to do. And I'm not going by my notes at all right now, but you will get the notes, and you can read through everything that I put in there. But I do want to read part of what I wrote here, which is turning inward means shifting your awareness from your thoughts to the physical sensations that you're experiencing in your body. And when a lot of people begin to practice somatically, they reach for words or labels that we use to describe our emotions. I'm sad. I'm angry. I'm frustrated. I'm discouraged. I'm worried. And those are okay words to begin with. But what we're really looking for are the words that describe the actual physical sensations that you're experiencing. So, where is this sensation located in your body? What's the size and the shape of it? How intense is it? Is it some kind of constriction or tightness? Sometimes there's a color associated with these physical sensations that we're experiencing. Sometimes there's a sensation of heat or cold. There's so many ways that you can describe the physical sensations that you're actually experiencing. So I'm a type 3 on the Enneagram, which means I'm a heart type. If you remember from Joe's teaching, there's body types, there's heart types, and there's head types. And so as a heart type, when I'm doing this kind of work, almost everything that I experience is in my chest, not completely, but a lot. And so I almost always feel some kind of tightness in my chest. Sometimes it's only the size of a walnut, sometimes it's the size of a tennis ball or a softball. Sometimes it feels like a heavy rock has been placed on my chest. Sometimes I experience sharp pains like a lightning bolt shooting through me. Other times I feel pressure behind my eyes or inside my skull, trying to press out. Sometimes I do experience tightness in my neck or between my shoulder blades. I don't often feel sensations in my stomach or my lower torso, but I think, a lot of that just has to do with the fact that I'm a heart type. People who are body types may be more prone to feeling things in their gut because that's an important place for body types. And head types, I find, tend to be very connected to just their thoughts. And so, more in their head than further down in their torso. But, when we do it today, you'll have to just see, where do these sensations occur for you? The quality of our breathing is also part of our somatic experience. We may notice that we're breathing fast or that our breath is quite shallow or maybe, high up in our chest. But a lot of times we're not really fully utilizing the full capacity of our lungs. So that just all of that was really just kind of a guide to when we do this first practice to give you an idea. Okay, what am I looking for? What does she mean when she says go inside? So what I'm going to do is we're going to practice one layer of going inside, and then I'm going to talk a little bit more, and then we're going to practice a second layer of what I would say is what they try to teach in the somatic Enneagram. So many of us, as I said earlier, are very armored up in allowing ourselves to feel what we're feeling inside of our bodies. And one way that is helpful for me to make this transition from thinking and having most of my energy up in my head and in my thoughts is to use a piece of music. So what I want us to do, Joe is going to play a piece of music, and it is from a CD called Celtic Lamentations. And if you've ever been to Joe's, you probably heard this CD. It's a lovely, lovely piece of music. And the only thing that I want you to do while this piece of music is playing is simply try to shift your awareness from your thoughts down into your body. And then just try to stay there and see if you can notice what physical sensations are being evoked by the music that you are listening to. But I want to tell you a couple of things before we start. Because a lot of us are not used to practicing this kind of attention to ourselves, sometimes what arises is somewhat intense. And if it's more than you are comfortable with, you can always shift your awareness from what you're feeling in your body to just focusing on your breathing, coming in and down and up and out. And you can just do that for 4 or 5 or 6 breaths, just really shifting your awareness to your breathing. And then after you do that 4 or 5 or 6 times, then you can shift back to focusing on what's happening inside your body and see if perhaps there's been a little bit of easing in terms of the intensity of what you're feeling. Or you can just stay with your breath. Either one is just fine. But really, the whole point, this song lasts for 5 minutes. So we have plenty of time. And all I want you to do is just practice seeing if you can stay with what's happening inside your body in terms of physical sensation. So, Joe, I think we're just about ready. Before you start that, let's begin by taking a good posture with our feet on the floor, our shoulders back and down. Tuck your chin in a little bit, and maybe rest your hands comfortably on your thighs. And you can allow your eyes to fall shut if you would like. Or if you're more comfortable, you can just sort of gaze down at nothing in particular, but just kind of have a soft gaze downward. So, Joe, I think oh, wait a minute. The song we're going to listen to is Caroline's Farewell to Music. And here's just a little bit of the blurb that they had in the CD about this particular piece of music. This is the last tune composed by Caroline, the famous 18th century blind harper, considered Ireland's national composer. Carolan lived an extraordinary life in spite of, and perhaps even because of, the challenges caused by his blindness. Though he was not a great harper, he achieved great fame through the beauty of his compositions. His was a life of challenges and losses, channeled into creating beautiful music. And when I read that, I was like, okay, all of our lives of challenges and losses. I mean, also, wonderful and great things. But we all experience challenges and losses. And I don't know. I just think this song just really speaks to that without having a word. It's all just music. Okay, Joe, when you're ready. Let's take another minute or two of silence. If you'd like to write down anything about that experience and what you noticed was happening in your body, you can do that, or you can just continue to sit in silence. Okay. So the first practice was really just intended to give you an opportunity to see, can I shift my awareness into my body and notice what my body is signaling to me by way of physical sensations. The second practice, we're going to do that again, but we're going to add on this second element of, okay, what do I do with what comes up? How can I tend in a compassionate, gentle way to what is coming up? So for the second practice, it would actually be very useful if you're willing to try it, to select a challenge or an upset or a worry or a concern that you have. It could be from any time in your past life or your present life. So before we begin, take a minute to select something. See if you can zero in on one thing that you would like to use this practice period for. And you might think about not only what is the situation that you want to use, but why is this a current concern of yours? Okay. So now the next part is you have this situation in mind, but you really want to kind of leave all of the words associated with it behind and just shift your awareness down into your body and begin to see, what are the physical sensations I'm experiencing in my body around this situation that you have selected. And you actually really do kind of want to, in a formal way, acknowledge those physical sensations. You can actually say hello to them. You can actually thank them for bringing themselves to your awareness, because it is your body trying to say, hey, I need some attention here. So just take a moment to do that. Just see what you're noticing and acknowledge it. You may notice that the physical sensations intensify once you put your attention on them, or they may just stay constant, or they may, in fact, begin to dissipate just because you have said hello to them and acknowledged their presence. Sometimes one physical sensation will dissipate and it will be replaced by another one. Just try to stay present to whatever is arising as much as you can and just sit beside them, sit with them, be with them in a very tender, loving, compassionate way. You might remind them that you are here with them and that you won't leave them. And a really important part of this exercise is that if you're starting to feel overwhelmed by these physical sensations, or you're becoming uncomfortable, or you think they're too intense, there's three things that you can do. Just like before, you can shift the focus of your attention to your breath coming in and down and going up and out. And you can just do that for several breaths. Another thing you can do is you can sort of visualize or imagine that your breath is flowing very gently around the area that where you're experiencing these intense physical sensations. You don't want to try to push through the sensations or push them away. Just allow your breath to flow very easily around. The third thing you can do is shift your attention to a part of your body where you're feeling solid or capable or that feels spacious or maybe cool. And you rest your attention on that part of your body for 10 or 15 seconds. Just feeling that sort of area of your body that feels stronger and more capable. And then you can return to the original physical sensations and see if there's been some sort of an easing of the intensity of them. Those three choices that you have, if things are feeling like they're too much, are called reconciling movements. It's where you consciously choose to shift your awareness to a place in your body, your breathing, or this other place in your body that feels capable, where you can sense some ease. And when you allow that, the energy, the intense energy that you're feeling somehow begins to dissipate. So I'm going to be quiet for a few minutes just so you can practice all of those things. I want to share just a few other thoughts with you before we have just a few more minutes of silence. Um, so, Thich Nhat Hanh had a different way of teaching this, but I think it's so appropriate. And whenever I'm struggling with being tender and compassionate to myself, I like to remember this teaching. He said that we should, when we're having difficulties, we should treat ourselves like a small infant who is upset. And what do we do with little infants who are upset? We tenderly pick them up, we pat them on the back, we rock them back and forth, we speak very tenderly to them, and we tell them, hey, we're here for you. And I just think that is such a good thing to remember because for some reason, we've all kind of grown up thinking we have to be tough on ourselves. Um, but but that's not very healing, is it? Um, and then I read this article in Tricycle Magazine this week that was just so perfect for what I'm trying to convey to you through this teaching. And part of the title of the article was Being Your Own Soulmate. And here's just a tiny little bit of what was in the article. The soulmate is someone who remembers and knows their own body, who can take care of their feelings and thoughts. If we don't know how to be our own soulmate, we won't be able to believe in the love another person is offering because we ourselves won't know what love is. We have to learn it by caring for ourselves first. So, I think that's probably enough for now. I know we're running a little short on time, but I really want to give us just a few more minutes of silence before we open it up for sharing, just to give all of these words a chance to settle, a little bit more time to just either practice or just let your mind go quiet and see how these words settle into your body. Okay, I think we'll move on to the third part of our meeting, where we both keep the silence, but we also open it up for anyone who would like to share something with the group.